Have you traveled to another country for love? This story will help you understand that love has no bounds. Jenny was no ordinary 28-year-old woman. Born and raised in Nigeria, she had a fire in her spirit and a glow that couldn't be dimmed. Her 4C hair, long and beautifully styled, was her crown, a symbol of pride and strength. Her smile was often described as the kind that could melt even the hardest of hearts. Adventurous by nature, Jenny had always dreamed of exploring new places and cultures, and she often found herself browsing online communities, reading travel stories, and watching vlogs about life in other West African countries. She was especially fascinated by Ghana, a country she'd never visited, but felt deeply drawn to. It was during one of these online escapades that she stumbled across Mensah, a tall, warm-hearted Ghanaian man with a quiet charm that instantly caught her attention. Their first conversation was casual, innocent even, but the connection was instant. They shared jokes, cultural banter, and talked for hours about music, food, and family traditions. What began as an online friendship slowly grew into something deeper. Jenny found herself thinking about him during quiet moments, replaying his voice notes and daydreaming about what it would feel like to meet him in person. A fire had been lit, one that neither distance nor reason could put out. Each day brought more texts, calls, and video chats. Jenny and Mensah talked about everything, from their favorite childhood memories to their dreams for the future. Despite the screen that separated them, they found a rhythm in each other's presence. Jenny started looking forward to Mensah's good morning, beautiful messages more than anything else. Mensah, on the other hand, admired Jenny's courage, her laugh, and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her passions. They were in two different countries, but their hearts began beating to the same rhythm. They celebrated small wins together, Mensah getting a job promotion, Jenny finishing a personal project. Though they had never touched, the emotional intimacy they shared was undeniable. Friends began to notice how Jenny glowed when she talked about him. She knew she was falling in love. The only thing that stood in the way of their blooming romance was the one thing neither of them could easily change: distance. It was Mensah who brought it up first. "I want to see you," he said one night, his voice trembling slightly. Jenny's heart fluttered. She had thought about meeting him too, but hearing him say it made the idea real. They discussed the logistics, who would travel, when, and how they could make it work financially. Jenny, ever the adventurer, volunteered to visit Ghana. "I want to see your world," she said, smiling through the screen. Planning the trip wasn't easy. Flights were expensive, and visa procedures came with their own set of challenges. Eventually, Jenny decided to travel by road, taking a commercial bus from Lagos to Accra. It would be a long, grueling journey, but she didn't mind. Love was worth the miles. She packed lightly but carefully, carrying gifts for Mensah and a heart full of anticipation. For weeks, she counted down the days, each one feeling longer than the last. Her friends were worried, but Jenny was resolute. She needed to do this. The day finally came. Jenny boarded the bus from Lagos, filled with excitement, fear, and curiosity. The journey was long and bumpy. The roads twisted through villages, cities, and vast stretches of land. The sun beat down on the bus, and the air inside was thick with heat and chatter. Jenny held tightly to her bag and tried to stay calm. Her thoughts kept drifting to Mensah. Would he look the same in person? Would they click as well face to face as they did online? Hours turned into more than a day. Border checks were stressful, and she was exhausted from the constant motion. Yet, Through it all, she remained hopeful. She looked out the window, dreaming of what awaited her on the other side. Every mile brought her closer to the man who had unknowingly stolen her heart. Her phone buzzed with Mensah's encouraging messages. "Almost there, I can't wait to see you, be safe." Jenny smiled, despite the discomfort. The pain of the journey was temporary, but what she felt for him seemed eternal. When the bus finally pulled into the terminal in Accra, Jenny could barely keep her eyes open. She stepped down, stretching her legs and scanning the crowd. Then she saw him, Mensah, standing tall with a bouquet of flowers, grinning from ear to ear. In that moment, the tiredness disappeared. Her heart leapt. She ran to him, and he wrapped her in a warm, tight hug that felt like home. They didn't speak for several seconds, they just held each other. When they finally pulled back, Mensah whispered, "You're even more beautiful in person." Jenny blushed. Everything she had imagined was real, and better. The air was sweet with possibility. Hand in hand, they walked away from the bus park, ready to write a new chapter in their story. Jenny couldn't believe how one person could make all the miles feel so small. Mensah had planned everything down to the last detail. The next few days were filled with adventure. They visited Cape Coast Castle, walked barefoot on Labadi Beach, and took pictures at the colorful Jamestown murals. Jenny couldn't stop smiling. The Ghanaian food, the music, the energy, it all felt like a dream. But more than anything, it was being with Mensah that made the trip magical. They talked for hours as they strolled through Accra streets, holding hands and stealing kisses when no one was watching. Jenny was fascinated by the similarities and differences between Nigeria and Ghana. She loved hearing Mensah speak Twi, and he tried, hilariously, to pronounce Igbo words she taught him. They were learning each other's cultures, but more importantly, they were learning each other's hearts. With each passing day, Jenny and Mensah grew closer. They laughed until they cried, shared childhood stories, and even talked about future dreams, careers, family, travel. Jenny found herself falling even deeper in love. She admired how kind Mensah was to strangers, how respectful he was to elders, and how tender he was with her. Mensah, too, was overwhelmed. Jenny was unlike anyone he had ever met. She had a fire in her soul but a softness in her touch. They had disagreements, little ones, but always ended up laughing about them. It was like their hearts had been waiting for each other. They didn't want to think about what came next. For now, they just wanted to live in the moment. One evening, Mensah took Jenny to a hilltop to watch the sunset. The sky turned hues of orange and purple, casting a golden glow on her face. She leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his arms. "This trip, it changed me," she whispered. Mensah kissed her forehead and replied, "You changed me too." They sat in silence, letting the wind carry their thoughts. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they made a promise. "No matter what, we won't let distance win," Mensah said. Jenny nodded, her eyes glistening with emotion. The world was vast, but their love felt larger. In that moment, they weren't two people from different countries, they were two hearts fighting to stay together. The last day arrived too soon. Jenny's bus was scheduled to leave early the next morning. They spent the day holding hands more tightly than usual, speaking softer, and laughing a little less. They went to the same cafe where they had their first date in Accra, reminiscing and pretending it wasn't their last day together, for now. That night, Jenny couldn't sleep. She lay curled up in Mensah's arms, crying silently. Her heart felt heavy. Mensah kissed her tears away and held her closer. "I'll come to Nigeria soon," he promised. She nodded, though her chest ached. Goodbyes are never easy, especially when love is real. But both knew that love needed space to grow, and this was just a pause, not an ending. Jenny sat by the window on the bus, watching the Ghanaian landscape blur past her. Her heart ached with every mile that took her farther from Mensah. The journey back to Lagos was longer somehow, lonelier. She clutched her phone tightly, replaying photos and videos from their time together. Each memory made her smile and cry. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Her mind kept drifting back to his touch, his laugh, and how safe she felt with him. It wasn't just a vacation romance, it was love. She knew it deep in her bones. The tears came quietly, just as they had the night before. But beneath the sadness was a flicker of hope. They had a plan. This wasn't goodbye, it was see you soon. Arriving in Lagos felt like waking from a dream. The bustling city welcomed her back with honking horns and hot air. But Jenny felt changed. Everything looked the same, yet nothing felt familiar anymore. Her friends welcomed her warmly, asking questions about Ghana and Mensah. She answered with a soft smile and glowing eyes. Still, adjusting back to normal life wasn't easy. She missed Mensah constantly. Texts and voice notes weren't the same. She longed for his embrace, his laughter echoing in real time. But she threw herself into work and hobbies, trying to stay strong. Distance was hard, but Jenny was harder. Her love wasn't fragile. It was rooted in purpose. Long-distance love came with challenges. Time zones, busy schedules, and poor internet connections started to test their patience. Some days were perfect. They talked for hours. Other days, it felt like the world was conspiring against them. Jenny hated the silence, the waiting. Mensah hated not being able to comfort her when she was down. But they learned to adapt. They found new ways to stay connected, watching the same movie while on call, sending voice notes during the day, praying together before bed. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And when they fought, they didn't let pride win. They always returned to love. Always. One quiet evening, Mensah dropped a bombshell. "I want to visit you," he said. Jenny's heart skipped a beat. He had been saving up and was close to booking a flight to Lagos. Jenny screamed with joy, almost knocking her cup over. After months apart, they'd finally be together again. They began planning where he would stay, what places they would visit. Jenny made a list of her favorite spots in Lagos: Freedom Park, Lekki Conservation Center, and of course, the beach. The thought of showing Mensah her world filled her with renewed energy. This love wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Just when everything seemed perfect, a sudden work emergency forced Mensah to delay his trip. Jenny was devastated. She had cleaned her apartment twice, stocked the fridge, and even bought a new dress. When he broke the news, she tried to be strong, but her voice trembled. Mensah was heartbroken too. He hated disappointing her. But he reminded her of their promise. "This isn't the end," he said. "It's just another delay. Our love has waited this long, it can wait a little more." Jenny sighed and agreed. It hurt, but she knew he was right. Their love was patient, and patience would pay off. Despite the miles, Jenny and Mensah's love inspired those around them. Jenny's friends admired her dedication. "You make me believe in true love again," one friend told her. Mensah's family asked about Jenny often, impressed by how much he'd changed since meeting her, more focused, more mature. They had turned their cross-border love into something bigger than themselves. They were proof that love didn't need to follow tradition or convenience. It just needed two willing hearts. Jenny began to journal their journey, hoping to someday turn it into a book. Love like this was rare and worth documenting. On Jenny's 29th birthday, Mensah surprised her with a video montage of their favorite moments, photos, voice notes, and even clips from their first trip. As the video ended, a voice message played, "Next year, I'll be right there to blow out your candles with you." Jenny wept with joy. It wasn't the gift that moved her most, it was the thought behind it. Mensah had stayed up all night editing the video. It reminded her that love is in the details, in effort, time, and intention. The distance still hurt, but the love felt more alive than ever. After months of waiting, Mensah finally made it to Lagos. When Jenny saw him at the airport, she ran into his arms like the first time all over again. They laughed, cried, and kissed, this time longer and deeper. The city of Lagos came alive with their reunion. They visited all the places Jenny had planned months ago. Mensah loved the suya, the pepper soup, and the energy of Nigerian music. He met Jenny's friends, who welcomed him with open arms. For a while, they forgot about borders, time zones, and distance. All that mattered was love. With every visit, their bond grew stronger. They started talking about the future, living in the same country, building a life together. There were still challenges, career decisions, visa issues, family expectations, but they faced them together. Jenny knew the road ahead would be tough. But she also knew that love like theirs didn't come around often. It was worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for. As they sat together on a rooftop one night, looking over the city lights, Mensah whispered, "I want forever with you." Jenny smiled. "Me too." After hearing this beautiful love story, would you consider finding love beyond your country's borders? Tell me in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me. To new people who found my page, please do like, share and subscribe. See you next time.